Well, yes, Melanie. We've been. I was watching your very excellent speech,
Thank
and
you.
it seemed to have three main themes. One was the the homage to our mutual colleague, Dr. Rauni Kilde, who we both worked with in both with with EUCACH, and Rauni and I also had the privilege of working in the area of the omniverse and the science of the human afterlife.
Hmm.
And so she and I have exchanged views in that area, and you can go online and see some of the work that we were able to do together. And then also you and I and Magnus Olsson, who's the director of EUCACH, uh, uh, have also done an interview on the probable assassination of Dr. Rauni Kilde by directed energy weapons. And I wondered if you had, those are very moving uh, events. I know very, very dramatic. And I've also done a couple of interviews on you on how you're being targeted by uh, a very serious uh, sort of implant that can remotely attempt to strangulate you. Could you talk a bit
True.
about that, please?
Yes, indeed. Whilst I was reading this speech, and thank you for the compliment, it was a speech because I was constantly strangled, and it made me very difficult to speak, uh, actually. So, yes, the strangulation technology that I have, but many victims do have this technology in their bodies, is a technology that will self-assemble and auto-replicate in your throat. It includes a throat microphone. It goes around your neck like a strangler and will record all your speech, may it be vocalized or unvocalized, which means that any speech that you might think or your thoughts. But more importantly, it will kill the victim with a progressive remote strangulation. So this is why I don't know if our viewers could see it while I was reading the speech, but this was particularly difficult for me because everything was done remotely to prevent me from speaking out.
Well, and we've done several interviews on that, and also reviewed expert testimony that
True.
showed schematics of the technology
Yeah. Correct.
developed by DARPA uh, with 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 Motorola involved,
Mm-hmm.
with the National
Yeah.
Security
Some
Agency
text. Yeah.
of the U.S. involved. Uh, uh, could you talk more about the fact that there are these corporations and agencies of the United States government that are now attempting to do that to citizens such as yourselves that went into a hospital in Belgium to have a
Yes. And Brussels. Yeah.
to have a simple operation
Mm-hmm.
and came out with a lethal uh, technology that resulted in the loss of your child, temporary
True.
loss of your child, and
Hopefully.
and hopefully
Yeah.
and this life-threatening technology.
Yes,
How is
indeed.
that
So
happening that can't be stopped? Why is not the National Security Council, DARPA, the Defense Department of the United States, Motorola, the corporation, even the President of the United States and its contractees in Belgium, whoever they are, be they corporations or organizations or nation states, why aren't they being held liable now, do you think?
Well, I think there are two sides to this. First of all, these are covered technologies, so these are secret technologies not revealed to the public. And as Professor Thomas Südhoff recently publicly said in the European Parliament, answering one of my questions, is that the clinical trials are often not done in an ethical manner or according to the law. So I think the first problem we have to combat in this is the secrecy around these technologies, and there is a kind of omerta not to speak of such crimes. So this is why we in being silent about these crimes and not being aware of these crimes, we kind of permit them to go on. This is the first thing. The second thing is that we must say that many of our politicians, not all of them, but many, unfortunately do work for industries and not for the citizens anymore, the citizens that we're supposed to represent and that have voted for them. So we have to change this mentality, I think. And we do not have to be afraid to speak out, because it's only via knowledge. Knowledge is power, where we can, change things. And the third thing I would also like to remind the public, because we cannot put everything on the back, or let's say not everything is the fault of politicians or politicians that do not act. I personally had the experience that not all of them are informed about what's going on, and we should never forget as the public that we have the duty of democratic oversight of what our politicians are doing or not doing, and that we can only change things if we, take on this responsibility of democratic oversight. And speaking out for our rights, defending our rights and our children's rights and our children's rights.
Right. Now, could you tell us what you and EUCACH have been doing, for example, with regard to, I understand that you have legislation that would completely ban the manufacture, the design, the deployment of the weapons such as you have been targeted with, such as led to the assassination of Dr. Rauni Kilde, such as led to the assassination attempts in the last several weeks of EUCACH director Magnus Olsson, in terms of directed energy weapons directed at vital organs of his body.
Yes, correct. Well, what I have done in this respect is that I have organized various meetings in the European Parliament with the staff of the former president of the Committee for Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs, which is the right parliamentary committee in the European Parliament dealing with such questions, or that should deal with such questions, to present them with the legislation. Well, first of all, explain the issue to them, present them with this legislation, and ask them to ask the European Commission, as Parliament, as a parliamentary committee, to draft appropriate legislation, or to use our legislation proposal as a basis for such appropriate EU legislation, prohibiting such abuses. So there have been various meetings, about the subject, and they're still going on. What I am now will be focusing on also this year is that we give ourselves the opportunity to get even more in-depth scientific evidence for these crimes, as I mentioned during my speech. And also once we have this evidence, that we request the Libby Committee to organize a hearing, a public hearing about these crimes where we could present our results.
Now, as I understand it, some of the early legislation against these new, what they then called the new physics weapons, actually came out of Russia. Is that correct?
It is correct indeed. In Russia, they do have a law against the abuse of these new physics torture weapons.
Yeah. And so what do you expect to happen this year, 2015, with regard to the legislation to ban all these new physics weapons, which include chemtrails and HAARP, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely correct. Well, I personally will certainly intensify my efforts to see this legislation implemented. But I'm also aware of the fact that the more scientific, irrefutable evidence we have, and this is why I stress this evidence-based approach very much.
Right.
The better our chances to achieve this. So this is why the planned RF scanning with the collaboration of really scientists by one of Europe's leading and most prestigious medical universities, the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, is very important, I think, to have the ear of those politicians and members of the European Parliament that are supposed to represent us.
Right. Now, some of the projects that EUCACH has been involved in also involved public education in terms of public scanning of that so that people could see whether they had been implanted. And as I understand it, implants, you can breathe them in from the chemtrails that just go into you breathe them in, they're little nanobots that go into your bloodstream, jump the blood-brain barrier, and train in your brain. Could you talk about the various scannings and both in Europe, but also in North America, because people really want to know about them?
Right. Yes. The nanobots are sprayed via the chemtrails every day around the globe are indeed one way to get implanted, to get this nanotechnology into your body. But it is not what we are focusing on. The people that come to us and report these symptoms that are generally associated with electronic terrorism usually report to us that the symptoms suddenly started when they either underwent surgery or had a vaccine. So
a vaccine.
Yes, vaccine. That's
I see.
Important.
So the vaccines are a major way of distributing and implementing the implants.
It seems so, yes. Because the people that we scanned who never had any surgery in their life and just had vaccines, particularly or swine flu vaccine, when we scanned them, they always came up positive on the right or left upper arm, which is where the doctor usually gives you your flu shot. So it is very easy to implant a person. All you need is a needle, basically. Yeah.
Now, could you share with our audience and the audience generally, if a person, say, is implanted that way,
Mhm.
and that implant then is activated and is made operational, what can
Mhm.
happen? What happens then?
Well, there is a plethora of possibility, but from just well, I don't want to say just, but from tracking the person, knowing at every instance where he or she is, where she does, to complete surveillance technology. For example, it is really, it's even possible to, if you have the implants in your eyes, like it is, for example, my case, to view through the person's eyes, to hear through the person's ears, to surveil every aspect of his or her life, and also legal surveillance, of course. And this is what the aspect of this problem what we just talked about is, which is even more problematic, is that you can remotely torture the person and even assassinate them. So it puts your security and your health in gravest danger, I would say.
Right, right. Uh, so, what are some of the other activities you've done a conference in 2014? I know that you brought together a great many uh, uh, whistleblowers at the world level,
Yes, true,
researchers and
correct.
scholars. It brought together a lot of people. It was a capacity crowd.
Yes.
Could you tell us all about it? Who were some of the who were some of the presenters that came? Who 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 were the participants in the conference? Could you share all of that with us?
Yes, sure. So, indeed, on 20th of November 2014, which is also the International Day of the Rights of the Child, by the way, which we chose also because more and more children fall victim to this, and the victims we meet are getting younger and younger, unfortunately. We organized the world's first covered harassment conference, covering all aspects of this harassment. So not only what we call electronic harassment, I think it should rather be called electronic torture, because this is what it is, but also covered harassment, which means what we generally call organized stalking, illegal entries into the home of the person, following the victim around, ransacking of their property, and so on. Our keynote speaker was the former NSA military official, Mr. William Binney, who has been one of the, I think, next to Edward Snowden, probably one of the most known whistleblowers, international whistleblowers on the activities of the NSA in spying on citizens. So he was our keynote speaker, and it was very interesting to see what he had to say on how this electronic dragnet system is done. And then we had like medical experts like Dr. Rauni Kilde. We had other activists and whistleblowers, scientists from Czech Republic, Moamia Babacek, and the public was mostly consistent of well, there was a large number of people, victims concerned by these crimes, but we also had doctors, we had lawyers who were interested in the subject. And also prior to the conference, I was in the European Parliament, and I've met various members of the European Parliament, members of politicians, to make them aware of this conference and of the issue as a whole.
Very good. Well, we've come to the end of this segment. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share? I mean, you're making you you and EUCACH, your colleagues, and now joining forces with in Poland and further throughout Europe, you're really bringing all of this to public light and hopefully ending this scourge and totally unnecessary fight against civilians, an attempt to destroy the human race as we know it. What are your thoughts at this point on your life journey and what has taken you so far?
Well, we recorded this speech on the occasion of the creation, which is, well, the whole issue is is not very happy, but this is I would say, a happy event, or at least that gives hope. On the occasion of the creation of a Polish association in due form, defending the rights and interests of victims of electronic terrorism. So my last words would be to really stress the importance of such initiatives and us all working together, banding together, collaborating as species, as we are, as humanity, to bring these horrendous crimes against humanity to an end, because this is our only chance. Because the transhumanist agenda, roboticizing human beings, is extremely advanced. Of course, it's unknown to the public, but it is extremely advanced. And if we do not succeed in uniting and joining our forces and our efforts to fight against these crimes, we as humanity will not survive. And this is really about the survival of humanity. It's an issue that concerns everybody. And it is about the future and the freedom of our children, of our children's children, and about the survival of humanity as a whole. So I would like to stress once more the extreme importance of working together and forming a united front against these crimes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome. Thank you for this interview.
Certainly.